Welcome to The Debate. Our source material today takes on, well, a seemingly universal aspect of life, the hobby. It lays out what hobbies are, why they matter, and it provides a fascinating taxonomy ranging from, quiet individual pursuits like origami to the dynamic structure of organized sports.
And it's a great overview. But while the material provides that excellent categorization, creative, active, relaxing, and social activities, it also, I think, forces us to confront a pretty significant philosophical tension at the core of the whole practice. What is the fundamental utility of the time we spend on these things?
Precisely. That is our central question. The debate centers on the fundamental value proposition of a hobby. Is its primary importance derived from the measurable skills, the disciplined growth, and the structural utility it fosters?
Or is its ultimate, and I would say its defining worth, found in immediate, non-instrumental emotional relief and just pure enjoyment?
I think it's the former.
And I will argue today that the essential purpose of a hobby is precisely that emotional relief. The necessary stress reduction and non-instrumental enjoyment. The moment we impose expectations of productivity or perfection, well, the activity stops being a hobby and it just becomes a form of self-imposed labor.
See, I disagree with that idea that utility diminishes the value. While enjoyment is certainly a prerequisite for engagement, I maintain that the deepest and most profound importance of a hobby lies in the enduring utility derived from skill acquisition and consistent personal development. If we don't seek progress, the activity provides only transient comfort.
Okay, well, let's start with the material's own definition then. The text introduces the concept by defining a hobby as something fun, relaxing, or interesting. Right there, that establishes the emotional state of the participant as the primary metric of value. Furthermore, the discussion about why hobbies are important, it highlights that they help you relax and take a break when you feel stressed from work or study. The intrinsic value is separation from demand.
I accept that the initial state of relaxation is key to engaging in the first place, but I would argue that this is merely the gateway. The material very quickly shifts toward instrumental outcomes. We are told explicitly that hobbies help you learn new skills. And when we look at the specific examples provided, the organized sports, for instance, the benefits listed go far beyond mood stabilization. We see discussions of gaining teamwork, discipline, and healthy habits. Even engagement with art is framed as teaching patience and attention to detail. Those are useful skills.
Those attributes, patience, attention to detail, they're certainly valuable, but I think they're residual effects of engaging in an enjoyable activity repeatedly, not the goal itself. If the goal is utility, then we lose the essential freedom of the hobby. The text describing creative pursuits explicitly tells us you don't need to be perfect, you just need to enjoy it. And that is a crucial distinction. If I convert my pursuit into a measured path towards skill acquisition, tracking my progress and demanding consistency, I'm just replicating the structure of my professional life. I'm defeating the purpose of the break.
I am skeptical that a value defined purely by immediate, non-instrumental freedom can really sustain itself. The long-term psychological benefit comes from durable satisfaction, not fleeting pleasure. The source itself insists on the necessity of consistency to truly feel progress. Take the example of learning to cook or practicing a language. If you only approach these activities when the mood strikes, the results will be minimal, and eventually the activity loses its engaging quality. The long-term satisfaction, the ability to prepare food for a family or to engage with a new culture, that comes from the skill learned through discipline. Without that drive for progress, it is just a pleasant distraction, easily replaced by passive entertainment.
I come at the role of consistency from a different angle. I specifically challenge its necessity for the core benefit of stress reduction. You argue consistency is key to realizing the benefits of discipline. But my question is, why must we import the necessity of structure from the world of work into the world of leisure?
Because the structural benefits are the most robust defense against stress. The discipline gained, the ability to set a goal and execute a plan, that builds resilience. Learning patience through pottery or gaining physical endurance through cycling, that translates into structural integrity in one's wider life. This is a profound, deep-seated sense of capability, which is far superior to the temporary high of an easy win.
I understand the gravity of that point regarding resilience. I do. However, the material explicitly identifies a category called relaxing hobbies, and it lists activities like listening to music or doing simple puzzles. Now, does a person doing a simple puzzle to feel calm need to be consistent or need to achieve a higher skill level? No, the relief is immediate and it's sufficient. By imposing a schedule or setting a required level of proficiency, I must complete this complex puzzle by Tuesday, you create the very demand and stress that the hobby is supposed to counteract.
I appreciate the idea of an immediate psychological reset, but I think the psychological relief gained from a simple puzzle is highly ephemeral. It offers a temporary respite. The value I prioritize is the structural psychological stability that a consistent hobby brings. The satisfaction derived not just from the process, but from the realization of achievement. That type of deep satisfaction is a much more durable mental buffer against life's inevitable stressors than a momentary calm.
That's a compelling distinction. Between ephemeral calm and durable satisfaction. But have you considered the measure of success? Let's turn to the example of Anna in the text. She attempts drawing and running, activities inherently geared towards skill or health outcomes, but doesn't find fulfillment until she takes up cooking. She starts with easy dishes, focusing on the process, and what is the final measure of her success? That she feels relaxed and happy.
Right. Anna's story is often cited to prove the enjoyment point, but I read it as an affirmation of utility found through the right medium. Why does the cooking hobby endure for her? It's not just the smell or the colors. The text notes she shares her food with her family, and they enjoy it. Her happiness is derived not just from the internal feeling, but from an external, measurable contribution. The ability to produce food and contribute socially. The utility is the anchor that maintains the satisfaction.
But the material offers an essential caveat right after that, reminding us that success in a hobby isn't measured by external standards. Consider Sam, whose cooking efforts are described with the understanding that sometimes the food is good and sometimes it is not perfect. Yet Sam states, I like learning. The failure to achieve perfection does not negate the value because the enjoyment of the process and the resulting emotional state of happiness is the sole sufficient measure of success for a hobby.
I would strongly disagree that it is the sole measure. Many hobbies inherently blend utility and enjoyment so seamlessly that the distinction becomes arbitrary. Think of the cyclist described in the material. They enjoy cycling because it helps them feel strong and healthy. That is a physical, skill-based, and measurable health benefit, not merely a mood change. Similarly, simple reading, while relaxing, simultaneously serves the instrumental function of learning new words and ideas. These are activities where the deep enjoyment is tied directly to the positive, cumulative change they create in the individual.
But if I read solely for the purpose of learning new words or cycle solely to hit a specific heart rate goal, I have fundamentally changed my motivation It stops being a sanctuary and it starts being a performance metric. The unique importance of the hobby is that it should be defined by its immunity to required output. That is the fundamental separation between work and leisure.
That focus on individual hedonic pursuits becomes difficult to sustain when we look at the category of social hobbies. This category is explicitly designed around shared and often instrumental goals. We are talking about activities like playing team sports or joining an organized club.
Okay, I agree that the social aspect adds a layer of complexity.
It does. The text highlights that the skills gained here are teamwork and improved communication. These are fundamentally external and transferable skills, skills required for social function and success outside the hobby context. This strongly supports the position that hobbies are not just about solitary enjoyment, but about enhancing personal efficacy within a social context. They are tools for social fitness.
I see why you emphasize that external utility, but let's delve into the underlying motivation. Why do people choose to play football or join a hiking group? Because the material itself states they enjoy sports because they are fun. The primary motivation is the intrinsic enjoyment of the activity and the desire to meet and connect with people. That connection and belonging, that's an emotional need, not a skill requirement.
But the enjoyment often becomes derived from the utility, the satisfaction of mastering teamwork, or coordinating a complex play, or seeing a measurable improvement in group communication. That provides a much more durable sense of achievement than the fleeting fun of merely kicking a ball around. The individual who engages consistently in team sports gains physical health, discipline, and structured social habits. This structure provides a deep psychological sense of belonging and capability, far more effective than occasional unstructured attempts at relaxation.
Where I diverge from that interpretation is that the moment the focus of that team sport shifts purely to winning or performance, that is, skill optimization for external validation, the core enjoyment factor is often lost. The activity risks becoming competitive labor. It transforms a sanctuary into another source of external judgment. The point of the hobby is not to maximize output, but to minimize pressure.
You speak of sanctuary, but sanctuary can be found in structured growth. The discipline of a hobby, whether it's patience from a creative pursuit or endurance from a physical one, creates a framework for delayed gratification. This framework provides stability when life becomes chaotic. That structural benefit, derived from utility and skill, is the most robust argument for their value.
And I would argue that structure is readily available elsewhere, in our careers, our studies, our family routines. The unique importance of the hobby is that it offers a necessary alternative structure, one defined by its freedom from necessity and external evaluation. It provides a space where you can engage in activities like calligraphy or collecting stamps, not because you must improve your penmanship for a professional goal, but simply because the ritual makes you feel calm or feel happy. That simple emotional response, free from metrics, is the highest measure of its success.
I maintain that while foundational enjoyment is necessary for initiation, the most profound and lasting importance of hobbies lies in their ability to facilitate real growth, learning, and the acquisition of useful skills. These skills, whether they are focused on patience, physical health, or social efficacy, contribute structurally to one's overall life quality, making the time investment truly valuable.
And I conclude that the essence of a hobby must remain its freedom from external demand or internal pressure for perfection. Its unique importance is that it offers a necessary sanctuary, allowing a person to relax, feel calm, and feel happy simply by engaging in the process, regardless of whether the final output, be it a meal or a puzzle, is perfect or contributes to some recognized skill set.
It seems clear that the material successfully illuminates the sheer diversity of activities that can be classified as hobbies, from the highly instrumental to the purely hedonic, encompassing creative, active, relaxing, social, and even the unusual ones like origami.
Yeah, and that diversity is telling. It strongly suggests that perhaps the value of a hobby is not singular, but is defined differently for each individual, depending on their primary psychological need at the time, whether they require structured skill acquisition, physical health improvements, or simply a deep, non-instrumental calm.
That is an excellent point of convergence. The text even hints at how cultural context shapes these values, mentioning how cultures might prioritize certain activities, like hiking or football. This confirms that even the societal lens determines whether we view a hobby primarily as leisure or as a form of valued personal development. There is clearly still much to explore regarding how utility and pure pleasure intersect in these pursuits.